Oh, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome, it's been a while, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. Of course, I'm MrWarrenHayes, thanking you all for joining us today on this very special Saturday, because it's special for two reasons. Three reasons. First of all, I don't do shows usually on Saturdays, that's first and foremost. Second of all, it's special because we're doing a prediction show for the upcoming AEW Double or Nothing show, which is happening effectively next weekend at the time that we're recording this. But it's also special because I'm joined by a guy who I've known for probably as long as I've been doing the podcasting stuff, and he is the co-host of the Shake Them Ropes podcast over on Voices of Wrestling, and also the co-host of the Dynamite Show on Fight Game Media, Jeff Hawkins. How you doing, Jeff?
Special Olympics somewhat. What it was that got me cracking up was the oversell of the I'm just like, what was that? No, happy to be here. Hey, remember when we used to do SmackDown reviews together?
Yes, I do. and it is such an entirely different atmosphere. I couldn't, honestly, I don't know. I know you and Chris over on Shake Them Ropes, you're sort of, you watch SmackDown sort of by obligation to a certain degree.
We watch a little bit of everything, but yeah.
But I personally, I tune out. I will watch things if something significant happens. If someone tells me you absolutely have to see this great / very poor thing that happened on SmackDown,
Oh, it was just deconstructing the elements of the 2 hours, and it's like as we've gone along on Shake Them Ropes, it's like we need more product because the product that's there isn't very good. So let's find something interesting as opposed to just sounding like cranks all the time, which was my problem deconstructing SmackDown towards the end there. Even though I didn't quit because I was sick of it, I quit because I got a new job. But it was still. This was bad. This was bad. This was bad.
It was. It was just terrible. But we did have good times reviewing SmackDown.
I had to carry you, so that was
all right. Okay, so listen, now that you're here on my show,
yes, I'm in your territory now. Let's do this.
Exactly. We're going to be doing this. We're going to break down the card and look at everything that's happening. And at the moment that we're recording, right, there are a couple of matches that are still up in the air, but I think that we can safely talk about. But as it stands,
okay, let's do that, but let's bring that up as a subject right now.
Okay, go ahead.
I think that's a problem, and I think that's also getting into the there's creeping Stamfordism coming into AEW.
I think there's anointment for that.
This waiting till the last moment to announce your card stuff.
Yeah.
Even though we've kind of been building most of these for a while, but. Let's announce the card and then build the feuds within it.
Sure, I'm with you.
Let's be different. Let's be what this industry used to be, and do that. It's somewhat concerning to me that they went this way. At least this time. I mean, it's not often they do this. Let's give the devil their due. They don't often do this, but this feels rushed in some ways.
Well. Look, the main match that comes to mind in that regard is, of course, MJF and Wardlow, right? And without talking about the match itself or what do you do then if the match at Double or Nothing is the prize, right? Like ultimately, that is the impetus of the feud, right?
That's fine, but we all knew what was coming at that
point.
I'm talking things like this Death Triangle versus House of Black match, which is we kind of knew it was coming, but. Why not build that feud full of all these characters you put this much time into and stuff?
Oh, I agree. And I to a degree, I feel like this feud, this match, it's like the 7th time they've tried to put it together. It's like,
it does feel like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
feels
really
like
does.
This feud's gone on for about 2 years and it hasn't, but at the same time, AEW doesn't have to announce a card to get tickets to be sold. I get that.
We figured that one out. There's proof to that. I think after that it's just a question of let's sell out the thing. Let's sell out the building. That's what I meant by thing. Let's sell out the building. And then the question after that is, how many pay-per-view buys then can we generate? How much more people will buy the show, right?
Yeah, I know, but I mean, there's something about, having a card and then figuring, I mean, I get the thing. I get that this is the modern industry, but it's just one of those things where it's like this like, I think Wednesday is going to feel slapdash in many ways.
Really?
I think they're gonna try and get although it's weird because go home shows on AEW always have at least one segment that doesn't belong on there. And you're like, why did they use this time to build this match on the card on Sunday or Saturday? Yeah.
To your point, that is the FTR Roppongi 3K match. Or no, Roppongi Vice match, excuse me. I always get that. They're doing FTR versus Trent and Rocky Romero.
Is that officially now on the pay-per-view? Or no, it's on Wednesday.
It's on Wednesday. So that's your outlier. See, that's to your point. There's always one thing that you're like, why are they doing this on the Go Home show? Because it has no connection to the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
right?
Usually it's a vignette of some sort. It's like they're building this character. It's like, that character's not even on Sunday.
Well, now it's a full-blown match. It's a full-blown match. We're already into the analysis. We're already breaking down here. And I didn't even have time to thank everyone who's joining us live here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes during this recording here. Like Phantom Mark 82, nice to see you. William Davis, Joseph Hargrove, Reality Creator 666, Don't Know Believe. Welcome. We also got Young Citrus who's here as well. Nice to see everyone. Thank you for joining us live. Young Citrus
is his name?
Pardon me?
Young Citrus?
Young, like young as in Carl Jung.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. As it makes more sense, Jeff. Is that what you're saying?
Now it makes more sense.
All right, well, let's get down to talking about. We sort of talked about how we felt the pay-per-view was built so far, so that's good. Let's get into the matches. Let's start talking about them, and I'd like to start with the Owen Hart Foundation tournament on the men's side, the women's side, and before actually talking about the matches, as much as I appreciate, a form of celebration of recognition for the work of Owen Hart, I can't help but feel, especially on the men's side, Jeff, I can't help but feel like the booking of this was sort of slapdash, to use your previous expression, and rushed. Like, I don't feel like there was really any true pre-planning, long-term thought put into it. And it was just like, who we got? Oh, I just hired Samoa Joe. Let's put him in, kind of thing.
I agree. I think they concentrated more on the tournament more than on the Owen Hart. While they had some Brett stuff in there, where's the tribute to Owen in here? Where is the real tribute to Owen in here? Did we not? Especially with that Joker thing. And look, I defended on this week's Shake Them Ropes the choice of John Morrison.
Sure.
He's the guy at that level who can still go that you won this kind of tournament. Don't get me wrong. I had a suggestion of Too Cold Scorpio because he teamed with Owen and he fought Owen a few times. Where's the connection to Owen in this tournament? And that would seem to be the story to me, as opposed to we're doing a tournament to do a tournament, and there's some tertiary, we're just naming it the Owen because Owen's great. Okay, but let's make that first one a little bit more emotionally connected there. And of course, I did take issue with that Darby Jeff Hardy match. And the risks that they took in front of Owen's widow. I thought that was... You
were on that side of the fence.
I was on that side of the fence very much.
See, it didn't bother me that much. I mean,
and that's fine. That's fine. To each their own, but it was just something that was brought up by another co-host of mine, and I was just like, I hadn't thought of it until then. And then I realized, that might have been in a little bit of bad taste here. But...
it's not as if they repelled, Jeff Hardy down. No. And then you would have been like, what the fuck are you doing,
Oh, God. That would have been totally tone deaf. But overall, I mean, it was like, somebody else brought this up. I'm like, are they going to put a bunch of tag team wrestlers in this tournament and just, and guys that they're kind of second tier players that are going to ROH and stuff like that, and Adam Cole.
Adam Cole. See, I figured when Dax Harwood really started leaning hard into the Brett stuff, right? And he, come out with the trunks and so on and so forth. I'm like, well, there's the surrogate, right? There's the Hart family surrogate right there.
Yeah, and that was fine.
But I thought he was going to go all the way, right?
I thought he was going to go. I thought he was going to go to the finals, but I thought he'd lose in the finals to somebody.
Sure, which is could have also been a thing, but they had me believing during the Adam Cole match that this might actually happen, because Adam Cole was a little doing a little more Shawn Michaels shtick at some moments, where I was like, oh, this is very, low key.
Yeah, they were definitely doing some tribute spots in there.
So when the surrogate loses clean to the sharpshooter, I'm like, okay. And I was like, that's interesting way to move forward here. Interesting booking, But I feel like we're kind of on the same level on how all of this was put together. If we look on the men's side, we have Adam Cole, who's secured his position. We have one more match to go, one more semifinal, which is going to be Samoa Joe versus Kyle O'Reilly. Who do you think ends up in the finals at Double or Nothing, and ultimately who wins on the men's side?
I could now see, because the way they've done this, feels like they're going to try and find a reason to take Joe out of this tournament.
Okay.
With this whole Ring of Honor, Jay Lethal type of angle.
Right.
I could see them knocking Joe out this round and bringing in somebody to face Kyle O'Reilly, who would then face Adam Cole in the finals.
Oh, you mean like completely taking Joe out?
Yes.
Like a pre-tape angle where they just demolish him.
They hurt his arm. He's not able to continue. But instead of this Kyle O'Reilly, we've brought in so-and-so. Although that does ape the women, but that was due to circumstance.
Sure. Okay.
Overall, though, I mean, if they don't do it that way, it has to be Joe and Adam Cole, and Adam Cole's probably going to win because Joe has a bad arm.
I'm with you. I think Samoa Joe, I don't think there's going to be any real shenanigans. I think they telegraphed the ending on Dynamite this week when they did the little, elite promo, Undisputed Elite pre-tape where they were really hammering home, between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. Oh, we're friends, but we're gonna get through this, and so on and so forth. And they're not going. This even supersedes the entire theory. Like, if you go a little further, I think they created unity within the Undisputed Elite group, because I'm convinced that they're setting up an Undisputed Elite Bullet Club match for Forbidden Door. So you can't have dissension in the ranks if you want to look strong, right, heading in later to fight another faction, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
So for all those reasons, I don't think Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly's happening. And your pick would be Adam Cole, and so would mine be, honestly. I think that makes the most sense.
I can see finger poke of doom if they put O'Reilly over Joe, though. I could see that too.
Oh, you could.
just to give Cole heat, but I think overall though you're gonna get Joe versus Cole, and it's gonna be a hell of a match probably. But the arm's gonna work its way into there.
I think so too. I really like. I really like the. Was it you who was talking about this? I think just on Shake Them Ropes last night, where you were talking about how Joe was slowing down.
Oh yeah. He feels like for old school fans, Wahoo McDaniel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
In NWA, where he just this old grizzled guy who could just smack the hell out of you, but you felt it was real, and it's like, oh shit, that guy's in for a long night there with Joe. But Adam Cole winning makes the women's thing very interesting, because both of my co-hosts think that it's going to be a king and queen of prom situation with Adam Cole and Britt Baker winning it. I personally think Toni Storm has to win this thing.
I'm kind of with you on that one. So clearly, we do have two more matches left with Toni and Britt on Wednesday. Ruby and Chris Statlander on Rampage Friday. I see Toni winning as well. Like, there is much more value in a strong Toni Storm coming out the gate and defeating one of the top women, right, in Britt Baker, and establishing her as a top star, because I still think they still have trouble with top women baby faces in the division right now.
They do. They cooled her off tremendously after the debut, which was ridiculous. She needs to be built up because, look, there's still some WWE stink on her, in my opinion, to a lot of fans. She's great. Let's establish her as an ace in the division, and let's not make the Ruby Riott mistake, which was hot debut, came in and wrestled a few more times, wrestled 50-50 matches, took her off TV because we didn't have anything for her. Now we've kind of brought her back, but she still, still gets a great reaction. Not as big. Toni Storm's an ace. She looks better than I think she's ever had before. I'm here for it, and it really needs a babyface ace because unfortunately, I don't think Thunder Rosa is it. I think she's good. I think her promos are sort of lacking somewhat. I think Tony's having some issues with promos too. Don't get me wrong. And those vignettes have been terrible.
They've been bad. They've all been cringe.
And I think somebody needs to be able to verbally get one over on Britt Baker. And I think right now Toni Storm is your choice, barring someone out there that I'm not thinking of.
I think so too. Who do you think she faces, Ruby Soho or Chris Statlander?
That's interesting because, well, here's why. Because I didn't think Statlander did any favors for herself in those vignettes with Red Velvet. It's so weird because it's like, man, this alien character stinks because it's all, playfulness and ironic wrestling and all that other stuff. And we want her to be more serious. And then we rebrand her as more serious and she's dull.
Mm-hmm.
This is nothing against her talent, but watch her on screen and watch her in interview type of segments and watch her mannerisms and watch her emotion. She's bland and she's not putting any real emotion into her interviews, the little interview time she gets. She's not really reacting to any stimulus from other people, like when Red Velvet came out there.
Mm-hmm.
She is vanilla as hell. But your choice would normally be here. Well, we've just rebranded this person. Let's put Chris Statlander over Ruby Riott. I think Ruby could get over here, but that would make it interesting for her in the finals. Then you'd have to put her all the way, I think.
I think, yeah. I mean, it's part of the problem, right? That the women's division, the women's division is very,
in there.
It's very top heavy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's not. That's the problem.
I think it is.
I don't think it's top heavy. I think it's mid heavy, and they need to break out one of these people from the mid to the top. Upper mid, because Ruby, Chris Statlander, and Toni Storm all need a huge win right now. All of them to go to that next Britt Baker carrying the division. And even Thunder Rosa. In this division, I have the top three right now are Britt, Thunder, and Jade. Quite frankly, and everybody else is just kind of looking for spots, quite frankly. And, albeit none of the talking is getting over quite well because Britt has a Charlotte problem in her booking quite a bit, is that nobody can get one over on Britt Baker quite a bit. But, I could see any three of Toni, Ruby, or Chris getting the wins. And you can make a case for all of them. I'm on this side of the bracket. Man. Statlander. I'm going with Statlander.
I'd go with Statlander too. I think it's the fresher match. You know what I mean? And that's interesting in and about itself. If that's how I'd book it, just for myself, I'd put these two in just because.
Who would you put? Who would you put Statlander against? Who? Toni?
Against Toni.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no. I honestly, I think Toni Storm has to pick it up because the thing on top of that is with Britt. Britt's bulletproof, and we know this. She's over. Period. She can absolutely take this loss, but like you were saying, like every woman who is in this position in the tournament right now, Statlander, Ruby, Toni, they all need like the big win. You're right. Britt is the only one who doesn't need it.
Yeah, but I could also see Tony Khan going, let's revisit Ruby and Britt. And maybe like Jamie and and Rebel, the old thing where, Tony got quote unquote screwed out of this match, so she didn't really lose, etc., etc. I could see that happening.
You got screwed. Like it is, what is it? It's like this year's the 25th anniversary of the screw job, the Montreal screw job. And we're in an Owen Hart tournament. You think?
Oh, jeez. If they did that, I'd be mad.
Did I just curse this? I hope I didn't curse this.
If they did that, it would be stupid. No offense, but it would be stupid. It would be stupid to take a WWE storyline and put it in AEW.
I know.
Unless it's part of the Jericho Appreciation Society, of course.
Well, which is something as well.
Mm-hmm. Before we go on to the next match, let me ask you something.
Okay,
this is a more general question about AEW. We're about to hit the 3-year anniversary of AEW.
Yes.
This week.
Yes.
Give a letter grade overall.
I would give AEW like over the entire 3 years.
How about the current state of AEW versus from your expectations?
Oh boy. Okay. I would give it I'm terrible at this grading thing. I'd give it a B in regards to where it is and my expectations. Does that make sense? Like,
yes.
Because of course, I think everyone had rather high expectations going in, right?
Right.
And I think right now we're at a B. I think, I think at some point last year, just before the pandemic, right? It was writing an A. I think it was close to being perfect wrestling shows week after week. It is still the show that entertains me the most. Okay. As far as, national televised cable wrestling. But I feel like at this point, there's warts that are starting to pop up. There are bad habits that are being developed that, I don't think Tony is ready to break just yet. And, I'm not trying to be facetious or make some kind of some kind of snide joke about one's potential to be using narcotics. That's not what I was doing. But there are certain bad habits that they're heading into, and sometimes I wonder. It's like, okay, well, maybe these are passing things, but like I tell my kids, once is a mistake, 2 times is a problem. You know what I mean?
Pattern, yeah, exactly. I give it I'm at a B- right now.
Okay.
I think they've done some good things. I think right now, though, number one, we have way too many other Federation belts in this.
Oh, does that bother you?
It does a bit.
Okay.
It feels a lot like NWA 1984, where everybody had a title, and you're just kind of like, okay, well, these titles, the NWA Brass Knuckles Championship. It's like nobody's using brass knuckles in there. No, I think the major problem is kind of twofold right now. I think one is they don't have a champion who can talk, and I like Adam Page, but I mean, and when I say talk, I don't mean he has an occasional good interview. Great. I mean one that carries this division with his mouth. And I think we've have yet to have that. And I think Moxley has still been the best champion in this company. So
I agree, though. Yes.
Because I think Kenny Omega, when he got the title, he decided he was going to do sketch comedy. And I was just like, I don't think that's enough to build something. I think even Warner Media is kind of like, okay, who do we market at our upfronts? And they put Red Velvet on their banner.
I know.
What? And I think the other problem is they have a pillar problem. Darby's been elevated a bit, especially because of Sting.
Mm-hmm.
MJF is kind of where he has been the entire time, and the Pinnacle didn't elevate him. Jungle Boy is kind of lost a little bit. He has the tag team title now, but when does he break out to be more than just Jungle Boy?
Yeah. And
it's been 3 years. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of young talent that I'm going, okay, they've been here for 3 years. Let's see the momentum there. Private Party, one of those teams, the same way with them. Sammy Guevara's kind of been elevated a bit. He got the TNT title, but that's been hot potato for a reason because they want to do anybody can win on any given week. That's fine. And then let's see, who am I forgetting? Or did I get all 4 of them? I got all 4 of them.
MJF.
I had MJF, and MJF has always MJF is the guy.
MJF is the guy.
MJF is the guy to take the title to see if we have a breakout star that we've created. I think that's
more so than Paige.
Yes. Because MJF can talk. MJF you can send to morning shows, and he'll be a jerk, but he'll be an entertaining jerk. He's a guy who can do media. I'm waiting for the guy who will break out of just more than AEW. That's the thing I'm waiting for here. And I know 3 years isn't a long time. You're correct. And they're building their audience, and it's growing. Between year 2 and 3, it's grown a little bit. It hasn't grown as much as between years 1 and 2. So it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, are we having a wrestling war, or is this still we're gonna grade on a curve here? That's the whole thing for me. It's like I'm waiting for somebody. It's like waiting for that new soda to take over Coca-Cola. You know what I'm saying? Coca-Cola has all this shelf space. WWE has all this shelf space. I'm waiting for somebody to be iconic out of the AEW that they point to and go, okay, he's from AEW. He's not from that other place. He does wrestling, but wrestling isn't all WWE. In the zeitgeist, not just among wrestling fans.
Jones Cola didn't do it for you? Jones Cola didn't, no?
I am firmly an RC cherry guy in terms of what's the best soda is on the market, but no.
Well,
it's not.
Look, this is maybe I think we're exposing a bit of a difference between you and I, because personally, I couldn't care less in regards to whether or not the champion can go to Good Morning America. And,
I know that. I just mean star power of the champion too. I think the star, the biggest star on the show should be the champion, and I'm not sure that that's happened here.
But don't you think that's interesting at the same time? Don't you think it's interesting, to have such a loaded card that you have things that people are excited for top to bottom? Because I think that week in, week out, there are things that make me really excited to watch AEW.
Yes.
Blackpool Combat Club is, and even before they were doing that, I thought the Moxley Bryan build to their match at Revolution, that had me on the edge of my seat. I loved everything about it.
Okay.
The Wardlow MJF right now, I think is fantastic.
Now hold on. I want to hold on because yes, Wardlow MJF is fantastic. Well, we should get back to the card in a second, but were you excited because you like Danielson and Moxley, or were you excited by the actual story they told on TV?
I was excited by the story they were telling on TV because it was about let's just beat each other up. And you know what? When we're done beating each other up, we should get together and beat other people up. And I'm like, this rules, man. That's pro wrestling to me.
Okay, I thought Danielson was miscast as a bit heelish in that thing, but okay, no, that's fine. To each their own. That's cool. I could be wrong on things. I usually am, as people say.
I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm not looking at the chat right now, so they probably think I'm full of it. But go ahead.
They're having a.
Let's move on with the card.
We'll just roll with it. Let's talk about the tag team Anarchy in the Arena match, where we have the Jericho Appreciation Society, Angelo Parker, Magic Matt Menard, Daniel Garcia, Jake Hager,
Daddy Magic,
and Daddy Magic, Matt Menard, and Chris Jericho versus the Blackpool Combat Club, Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley, alongside Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. Okay. Walk me through how your feelings about the Jericho Appreciation Society and how that all came together, because it's kind of like the impetus of all of this, right?
Doing a sports entertainment franchise to tweak the WWE people and also, tweak the AEW hardcore fans, I guess it's fine. I guess in some ways. I think Jericho should have been the second banana here to sorry, I was getting my own audio in my ears for a second there. I think Daniel Garcia should have been the impetus and the focus of this crew as opposed to Chris Jericho. And I think the Jericho Appreciation Society name, while it's funny for 2.0, to do the intro and talk about Judas and stuff like that. He's had his time.
For sure.
Let's build the new guy. And, you know, and you know, I like the Fireball because it's old school professional territory wrestling and in its very essence. I hated that he's now calling himself a wizard who can shoot fire. It's like,
you should have said it once, you know, but Jericho always has to drive something home. He says it once and we're good, you know.
And it's kind of gone off, but it went about how I thought it would. It's like, okay, we are representing sports entertainment here. And now we're going to fight wrestlers and fighters. And that's cool. Up until William Regal says that I've stuck a toothbrush up my butt. Which had no place. I mean, the week after saying, we take a knife and we cut your face because we want you to remember things. Oh, I was also sticking toothbrushes up my butt. You know, there's just that disconnect there, kids. Come on. I'm a big tough guy who will scar your face, but you know, a little butt play. That's always nice in the afternoon. You know, here's the thing: is that for most of this match, BCC should just beating the crap out of them. But I think this is a this feud must continue thing, and that's the problem here: is that this feels like it should be a blow off, and it ain't gonna be a blow off in any way.
I don't think so either. I think this is
it really should be a blood and guts match, but they can't fit the second arena into Las Vegas at this point because they've sold all those seats. So I think somehow, I mean, because I think the end game of this story has to be Daniel Garcia joining the Blackpool Combat Club and having a turn and realizing that this isn't what he is, even though but we haven't gotten to that story arc yet. So I think somehow the Jericho team has to pull this out.
I thoroughly enjoyed the swerve of Daniel Garcia, right? The wrestling purists' favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
You know, cutting the promo and saying, I am a sports entertainer. And it was just like, you know, it's fantastic, right? The minute I saw that, I was like, I cannot wait then for the turn, right? Because ultimately that's what it's going to lead to. The turn, the moment where Daniel Garcia turns around on Chris Jericho and shoots on him, figuratively speaking, right? You know, not an actual shoot. But he shoots on him, and then he goes off and does his thing again. Because the whole pairing, even with 2.0, was always a little strange. It was always off color for him.
I always liked it, though. I mean, it's always a nice yin and yang type of thing where he has funkies who can take that loss and guys who can talk for him. But eventually, everybody has to fly on their own. That's the thing.
No, absolutely. And I mean, eventually it's going to happen because Jericho's going to get bored of this group and, you know, he's going to move on to something else. But, you know, as it stands right now, I think it's going to benefit Matt Menard more than anyone else, right? Because he's getting his facials in. Jericho clearly likes him because he does give him room to, you know, to say a couple of lines during the promos. He does the whole, you know, full
This should have been Kevin. This should have been Kevin Owens in 2.0 in WWE. But yeah, it is. We get it.
We all know that. We all know that. But you know, I'm look. Is there any way that the sports entertainers are going to win in the sports driven AEW, the sports presentation AEW?
Overall, no. They eventually have to lose because this is a tale of talking about sports entertainment versus professional wrestling. What I want to see in this match is I want to see the sports entertainment people get vicious. I don't want to see them doing sports entertainment spots. I want this to be, for lack of a better term, the Tupelo, Mississippi, you know, concession stand brawl. I want this to be anarchy all around with fighting and fighting and fighting. I don't want this to be, you know, like they had that. You remember, was it the Stadium Stampede where it was FTR and Proud and Powerful in the nightclub at the? I don't want those types of set pieces.
Yes,
I just want people hitting each other with crap until one team goes down. That's what I want.
No, I agree. That's exactly what I want as well. It has to be. They have to be all over the place. What I'm hoping for, because they're pretty. There's moments where they've shown that they're able to do it. You know, one of the things that I really used to like about the old ECW when they'd have these wild tag teams, you know, and you'd have You know, you'd
the
have
gangsters, the eliminators.
You'd have the eliminators and the pit bulls. Let's say, you know, on either side, they'd split up in twos, and then they start fighting all around the arena, and then you'd have camera cuts. You know,
yes, and that's what they should do here. That's definitely what they should do here.
Just bring in the chaos, and they did it. They did it really successfully. AEW did at the Revolution pay-per-view, where I can't remember everyone who was involved with when Sting threw himself off of the balcony thing.
Yes,
they were doing that really well, catching a spot here, moving to another spot there, and if they can recreate that chaos on TV, which is not an easy thing to do, I think I'm looking forward to it, because it has to be that. It has to feel chaotic, has to feel violent. Do you think there's any more to this Eddie Kingston, Bryan Danielson thing that they sort of hinted at?
I think they might expound on that, but I you know what? It's weird. I'd have Eddie Kingston take the loss.
To Danielson?
No.
In the match.
Yes.
Interesting.
Or to Garcia, one of the two. Because I think Proud and Powerful really need to be built up these days. They're just coming off as flunkies, and I think you're not going to beat either member of the BCC. I don't think so. I think Eddie Kingston, oddly enough, is the guy to take the loss. And he's going to be the guy that has the best reactions to losing when Jericho starts mocking him. True
enough. And especially if it's Garcia who pins him, because he's been particularly targeting Dan Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that the feud goes on, so the Jericho Appreciation Society would win?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they pull the swerve too. I think they pull a swerve here. We mentioned it earlier, the 6-man tag match, Death Triangle, takes on the House of Black. Like we said, you know, it feels like it's been forever that they've been trying to put this match together. Look, okay, here. Been talking about, you know, over the past 3 years of AEW, right? We're moving into it. Is Pac currently the most criminally underused potentially top level talent that they have? Wow.
That's a
talk about guiding you in the question, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, still the FTR is the most criminally underused.
Oh, there you go.
But they have.
Let's talk about
he's up
guys,
there.
Then.
Pac is up there. Let's put it that way. He's top 3. Okay. Let's go with yes, just to continue, so that I don't.
Because you remember he was part of the press conference, right?
Yes.
He was there.
Yeah.
He showed up. People lost their shit because everyone was aware of what happened with WWE having him set his contract out. He was tearing it up in Dragon Gate, if I'm not mistaken. He was their champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people were extremely excited, but it's always, I know he's been injured, and maybe that's the kind of thing that derails plans, but the closest that he's come to a top level match was that thing with Kenny Omega and Orange Cassidy.
Well, no. Well, yeah, the one-on-one with Omega too.
But Omega wasn't champion at that point.
Right, but still. I mean, that elevated him more than anything he's done. I mean, even that 3-way didn't really help him, because I think Orange Cassidy kind of brought that down a little bit. No offense to Orange Cassidy fans.
No, but
I get it.
You know, I kind of feel like it's still strange. It's very strange to me that they're still using him in tag team, trios context. Look, they have to pull the trigger on this.
They have a glut of people right now, though. That's the thing, and it's like you don't know really who's clear. And I haven't been the biggest fan of this story. I think it's very sports entertainment, and I think it's very digging into the whims of Aleister Black and what he wanted to do in WWE as well, with the spooky supernatural stuff. And okay, fine. I think this match is going to burn the place down in terms of guys who like spots and work rate. I do. I mean, the big danger to this one is that if the Lucha Brothers again want to get all their stuff in, it's going to go 5 minutes too long, and then everybody's going to be rushing for the rest of the night.
Sure.
But I think the match itself, and hey, maybe it's about time we get to see Buddy Matthews do something.
Something really interesting. Yeah. Absolutely. No, because the thing is that there's no reason for this match to suck, because there's
suck.
6 extremely.
It won't suck.
And
it might be a little set piecey, but it won't suck at all.
You know, I think it's one of those where, regardless of how it was built, They're just gonna throw these guys together and they're gonna put on a barn burner one way or another. And hopefully Rey Fenix won't hurt himself.
Who wins?
That's a very good question, right? Personally, I think the House of Black needs to win because I think they don't feel as hot as they once were. And Aleister Black is definitely not as hot as he was when a certain Codworth Rhodes was around to boost him.
Here's the thing: is he went from Cody Rhodes to dealing with Fuego and Julia Hart and the Varsity Blondes. To me, it's like if they get the win, they still are at square one of okay, who do they move on to next? So there is something to the fact that I think Pac needs a win badly.
True. This is also true.
You know, if he pins a Brody King or something, that'd be fine to me. But you know, I mean, either way, House of Black is at square one. And so I guess you could elevate them to go up against Blackpool Combat Club next. Maybe if you pull them away from that feud.
Well, look, I'm sure you've seen the reports, the rumors. I think it's Dave that talked about it.
I haven't seen them, so tell me.
What's that?
I haven't seen them. Tell me.
No, that the trios titles are ready, that they're done.
Oh, okay, made. Those. Yes, I have. Yeah.
I think it's more than time to pull the trigger on them, right? Not this weekend, but they have been setting up the trios, the teams. Just the fact that before Wheeler Yuta set off to Japan, they had those guys week in and week out defeating three dweebs on the other side week after week after week.
So they do this. The House of Black wins this, and then it plays into the tournament where Death Triangle wins the trio titles in the tournament. That's I guess that's the way you do it.
There you go. That could be.
But that means this feud must continue, though. So, okay, we're not gonna get any resolution. My God, if Julia Hart has something to do with the finish of this. So.
Well, you know what? Look, at least it will be some form of resolution, right? Because the thing that I was most afraid of was that the week after she didn't attack Griff Garrison,
that they were gonna go right back to it.
That you'd see them backstage and they'd all hug, and someone would put some Zinco Fax on her eye, and then she'd be like, okay, we're good, and then we're all friends again, and that would have pissed me off.
Yeah.
Because I want some form of resolution to this. Even if she does poke her nose in at some point, I'll be at least it brought us to this.
I think she hits. I don't care. I think she hits one of Death Triangle with the chair to give them the win.
Interesting.
To give House of Black
the win. Well, they really have to do something at this point.
Okay.
They really have to.
And I think this crowd craps over that.
Oh God, yes. The internet's gonna melt down. We're gonna start talking title matches with the AEW TBS title. Champion Jade Cargill is going to be defending against Anna Jay, coming in out of left field with champion's pick again.
I watched Rampage this morning, and having Anna Jay save Ruby Riott was ridiculous, given that Ruby Riott's in the tournament still. So that basically.
Okay, when you put it that way, it is a little strange. I hadn't thought of that.
Demeans her quite a bit. So yeah, okay, fine. Jade gets number 31.
I think so too.
And I don't think it's a very good match.
I don't think it's going to be very. Here's the thing, right? And chat, by the way, let us know who you think. Is Jade retaining, or is Anna Jay becoming the new TBS champion? Which again would be.
And I think this is kind of a mistake, because I always thought Anna Jay should be the one to take it off of her, and you build her up and you build her up and you follow that journey to eventually take it. And then it's like, okay, look, here's this internal person that we've been building up all this time to take it from our other internal star. That's a great thing. And it's the secondary title, and then Anna Jay can defend it for a few times, and some veteran that they've brought in can take it away from her. Or Ruby Riott. Who knows?
My thoughts on Jade are very simple, but not really at the same time. She got herself over because of all of her intangibles.
She's fantastic as a presence.
Right. Exactly.
And she's actually she's not bad. They just ask her to do too much. In my opinion.
You go. They're just asking her to punch a little bit above her weight so to speak.
Well,
Maybe,
have her work as a giant. Why not? As opposed to this extended choreography and putting people through limbs and having to pick people up and do these weird like contortions and things like that. Choke slam and get her out of there.
she was using a couple of weeks ago. She was using the Tour of the Islands, Jeff Cobb's finisher.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's it. Never mind the glam slam that she's doing right now. Whatever the jaded, her double underhook gourd buster. It's like, never mind that. The Tour of the Islands works for her because she's bigger than everyone. She's stronger than anyone, and it looks like it hurts. You know what I mean?
Push her.
Plus, you don't have to apply any complex holds.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. It just works.
The thing is, she's not in there with veteran people who are,
and that's the other
most
point.
Part. Yeah.
That's the other point. If God bless Anna Jay, because this is another wrestler who's come up, who's improved since she started, but she's in no position to help carry anyone if shit starts to break down. It's kind of like Nikita Lyons and Lash Legend from a couple of weeks ago.
No.
But it literally is that way. No, but they're not that bad. But the situation being something broke down in the match. Neither woman knew what to do because everything is extremely choreographed. So they're like, you actually hear them calling spots at each other because they don't know what to do. Right?
Yeah, and the referee's yelling at them spots too at the same time.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's one of those things.
That's the worst case scenario.
But Anna Jay and Jade Cargill are All Japan Women 1991 compared to Nikita Lyons and Lash Legend.
Yes, absolutely. I completely concur. Don't let my I don't think this will be a good match mean it's going to be a bad match. Let's put it that way. I'm not saying this match is going to be the drizzling craps. I didn't say that. I just think I think it's going to be kind of a basic match, so nobody has to do anything too difficult. Nobody gets lost. Telling a very simple story, and Jade wins. It'll be that simple. It'll be that simple. Next, we have the Hardys taking on the Young Bucks. Now, Jeff, listen. I do listen to Shake Them Ropes every week, but I feel like I don't know exactly how you feel about Jeff Hardy. I know how Chris feels, your co-host.
Yes, Chris does not care for Jeff Hardy.
And I I've ever since he's come back, I've tried to not be that guy on my podcast, but I am that guy. I don't need Jeff Hardy in singles matches. I really don't. I don't see what he brings outside of doing stunts, and I think it's ungrateful of us to be asking Jeff Hardy to be going out and breaking his body for us again after all these years.
Are we asking him, or is this what he wants to do?
Well, listen, if you see, okay.
Now listen.
God damn it, Jeff.
No, here's the thing.
No, but the point, look, I think we are asking him because if he goes on a rando Dynamite and he climbs and he's in the backstage area and he climbs to the top of a windowsill and he dives off of it and people lose their shit over it and people are gifing it on Twitter and people are Jeff Hardy's so amazing and that is us asking him to continue to do that because that's Jeff Hardy's mindset.
I think he's been on TV way too much.
That too.
My position is that we don't need to see Jeff Hardy every week. And while Jeff Hardy is definitely the star attraction of the Hardy brothers because we overexpose Matt Hardy every week, I think not necessarily Brock Lesnar level special attraction, but a little higher up. But I think also, Tony, I think there's a little bit of member berries. I think it's, oh man, Jeff Hardy should have been Jeff Hardy should have been the face of the WWE type of thing.
Sure.
And deserves a bigger push. Not unlike Christian, but a little bit like Christian. Because that's Tony Khan's favorite wrestler. I think Tony Khan has a lot of nostalgia for guys of the SmackDown 5 era, so to speak.
Do you think
SmackDown 6? I'm sorry, SmackDown 6.
No, that it makes sense to me what you're saying. Do you think that on top of that, there could be a little bit of Tony Khan going, look, I brought back Sting, and everyone said he was over the hill, and look at what he's doing now.
Yeah,
I brought back, bringing
but
back.
Sting doesn't do that every week either.
No,
I mean, it's for rare occasions. Problem is, I think there's a little bit of Jeff Hardy who still thinks he's 30, and
I think in his
and
mind
a little bit
he still does, right?
A little bit of Peter Panism going there, and there's a disconnect here because we know from every other pay-per-view and just 3 years of this, Tony Khan has a hard time telling guys no when they really want to do something, and he has a little bit of a problem editing down people where it's like, hey, we don't need to do everything in this match, et cetera, et cetera. And I think Jeff Hardy is a guy who's, man, I'm just riding the wave right now, and I want to do it as long as I can until I can't go anymore. Okay, but it's closer to not being able to go anymore than it is riding the wave.
Yeah.
This match, we've seen, I think, the best Hardys Young Bucks dream match. That was at the Ring of Honor special in was it Orlando? I believe it was. Before they made their return the next night to WrestleMania to jump off ladders on top of Cass and Enzo. That was the best I think we're gonna see of the Hardys in this iteration. I think they're having fun. I'd much rather see the Broken Universe come back and have them do those types of things than do this. I think the Bucks are going to try their damnedest here.
The Bucks are going to do their best. They're absolutely going to do their best.
And I think Jeff Hardy's going to try and do too much.
And
I'm going to leave it at that as what's going to happen in this match. And I think the Bucks go over, and I think they. Hold on, I think the Bucks offer to put the Hardys over here. I do.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
It wouldn't shock me.
But is that the right decision?
No, of course not.
Because
the right decision here is to put over the Bucks, who have a lot more heft as being a top heel group if you want to push this Forbidden Door thing. So maybe I'll change my mind here. I think, boy, there are people that want this Jeff Hardy solo push to something, and I disagree strongly.
I don't even know what you do with it, Jeff. We saw him with Kyle O'Reilly a couple of weeks ago, and it was brutal to just watch him go.
This is a guy who gets the same cheers he got as 15 years ago, but he can't do the same matches as he did 15 years ago. But he's going to try.
And I can understand the level. I can understand that people really like the Hardys.
Yes.
Like last year, right? Last year, in the midst of the Hardy family office thing, I saw Matt Hardy on 2 separate occasions on 2 different AEW shows in dark matches, right? Both times he comes out, the place goes unglued. For Matt. People
okay.
love the Hardy Boys. They really, really do. And of course, they particularly like Jeff because Jeff is he's the crown jewel. It's just as simple as that. So I get you bring them in, you make them happy, you make the fans happy. Is it a question of, maybe Matt and Jeff wanting to go out on their own terms, that they'll know Tony will let them go on their own terms. Because there's some of that in Sting. Sting's like, I'll be able to go out in a way that I'll feel proud about. Same thing with Christian, I would say as well, where you don't have to, you don't succumb to the whims of one old man,
Okay. Counterpoint.
Please do.
Out of those 3 acts, only one of them is self-aware enough, I think, to know that, okay, maybe Christian is too. I kind of take it back. I mean, he's had the main event match with Kenny Omega. But of those 3, Sting's the only one who knows where the end of the tunnel is.
I think so, yeah.
I think
he was,
because Christian has a very, very earned chip on his shoulder about being put on the shelf for at least 5 to 7 years of his career that he could have been continuing to go. I think.
I agree. I agree.
And Jeff Hardy has a litany of things in his head that are both wrong and a little delusional, I think.
Can be a dangerous combination.
Yes.
So our minds say the Bucks should go over, but you also you'll throw in the sentimentality.
I will throw in the sentimentality for this reason. I think there might be a Hardy's FTR match down the road.
Oh Lord. I mean, oh Lord, you're right. You know, I mean, it's the kind of thing where you go, oh, but then when you think about it for a second, you go, oh, okay.
You go, well, okay, this could be good or this could be dog crap. Yeah.
All right. Well,
we're in between. Yeah.
There we go. Now there's a match that hasn't been announced yet, but I think it's coming. I'm pretty sure. I mean, he has to win a match on Wednesday, right? Wardlow has to win the match on Wednesday. And then maybe if that happens, he'll get his match at Double or Nothing against MJF. Look, we already touched on it a little bit. It's legitimately one of the best things on AEW right now. It's something that I'm week after week excited on. Jeff, I know you are an old school territory historian. I love my old time wrestling as well. Especially, WCW Nitro era. I really, I like this because it's a really well executed pro wrestling angle to the point where it made me like the contract signing last week.
It's the best story AEW has ever done.
Oh,
it's
really?
Fantastic.
It's really good.
It's fantastic and it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect what they've done every step of the way. Everything they've done. As I said, the big problem with the story is the next beat of Wardlow.
Well,
because and following up on it, because that's
the biggest test.
They are killing it right now, making him a star. I mean, absolutely. I mean, the 10 lashes thing, and when you view it through the lens of, it's the polar opposite of how they did the Cody story, where Cody is just dying on every lash, and really getting the sentimentalism up there. And Wardlow's just taking it all until they decide to kick him in the balls. And to the point where his no selling it drives MJF crazy, and he starts just wasting his lashes by lashing out on him. Pun not intended, but it's there. That the whole thing afterwards, where it kicks him in the ball and then starts choking him with the belt and screaming at him in his face. It was fantastic. The contract signing is fantastic. The whole thing where it's like he has to be like brought out with all security geeks and thing. It's fantastic. I love this program. I absolutely adore this program.
I really think it's look. It's one of the best things they did, because I really got into the CM Punk MJF stuff. Later down the line. But look, it's all prime stuff. And look, the connecting tissue here, as Chris Charlton and NJPW likes to say, the connecting tissue here is MJF. He's the constant here.
He's fantastic. It's been completely fantastic. The danger on this card is, where do you put this match? Because you are crowning this guy.
Yeah.
And this crowd is going to go wild for it, I think. I mean, I think you have to crown this guy. You have to have him beat MJF. You have to. Don't put a women's title match after this, please. Because then there's going to be a certain fan base that gets very mad about that. But
true.
If you opened with this, it would be fantastic, I think. Yeah, I think you coronate Wardlow, and then we see what happens. Wardlow has been fantastic. That's the thing people aren't getting as well. I think Wardlow, for a professional wrestler, is pretty fantastic actor in terms of his facials, his reactions. His talking is very underrated, in my opinion. His delivery is fantastic here. I'm looking forward to big badass Wardlow as a ace babyface and seeing where we can go with this. I really am.
He doesn't expend his energy willy-nilly,
No.
He focuses it very well. I think they could have MJF go over here, because MJF is not above using anything at his disposal to do so. There is still Sean Spears, unless they completely take out Sean Spears this Wednesday with a kayfabe injury, you know, where he's like, oh, you know, he's going to be out for 6 weeks or whatever. I mean, I don't think it would be the right play okay, hear me out. I think the match at All Out, and I might be spoiling my something a little later on. I think the match at All Out is Adam Page versus MJF for the title.
Okay.
I think that's the match. So I think you come out of Double or Nothing with MJF winning over Wardlow, right? And this feud continues for a couple of months, because let's not forget they do quarterly pay-per-views. They don't do one every month. So this feud continues a little bit just to lead us into July, beginning of August, where then they start to heat up Page and MJF. In the meantime, it keeps MJF busy. You get and the chase continues for Wardlow, because we really like the chase. But then again, is it too much of a chase?
Yes, because the first time they should turn Wardlow was in Wardlow's hometown, when they were dying for it that time, when the entire Pinnacle angle happened. They were dying for it, and was it Cleveland? Was that the show?
Yes, it was.
And that's when they should have probably turned him the first time and really strapped the rocket there.
Sure. They weren't ready.
I kind of disagree with your path, although I find it understandable and a definite possibility. But I do think we're getting MJF and Punk at All Out, and I think we're getting MJF taking the title from Punk at All Out.
We're gonna have an interesting discussion in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm not completely sold. So you can always talk me into it. I don't think we can have this chase continue. I think we need to see what we got here. I do. I don't, but I also don't see it. I can see MJF using Mark Sterling to lawyer his way out of it not being an official loss. Like his leg is under the rope or something to that effect. I could see a DQ. I could see a count out. Fine, you get your win or whatever. You get your freedom. But really not giving him the big win, which I think would suck. But I could see them doing it that way to protect MJF. But look, I think Powerbomb Symphony, MJF has the rope, but they count the 3. That's what I would do here.
That's okay. All right, foot under the rope, like kind of thing.
Yes,
a little subtle. Okay, okay. Well, we'll see. Honestly, I'm overthinking it. I think because sometimes, most of the time, the simplest booking is the best.
Look, I'm gonna tell you something. There's an issue though that you do that what you're thinking is basically the Dusty Rhodes style.
Pretty much.
Is that we don't take the new star. We don't let him win the first time because we want that heat for the return.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Dusty realizes, well, we're never going to get back there because I'm putting myself in the match. and then by the time they get to that new star, it's already kind of been like, well, the time to really coordinate him was the last time. Like they did that with Luger, they did that with Wyndham, they even did that with Sting in some effect. Sometimes you just gotta go with the guy and see what he has.
No, I know, and to a degree, I'm overthinking it for the sake of conversation. Because if I'm booking it, I'm like, no, it's Wardlow's night.
We've been on an hour. Let's try and get this done in another half, shall we?
Let's do it. AEW World Tag Team Title 3-way match. Dino 210 are taking on Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. And the Team Taz combo of
I've never heard that before. That's great.
Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks. Thank you very much. You're welcome to use it. Okay, now, when you were, again, very interesting that you brought up the grading thing over the past 3 years. One of the places I find, oddly enough, that AEW has failed to satisfy me as opposed to previous years is in the tag team division. For a place that lauded tag team division, and we're going to make tag teams important, and we're going to take over everything in regards to tag teams. I feel like been slipping a little. If we're second pay-per-view in a row where we're doing a triple threat for the tag titles. I'm not a fan necessarily of all of this, and I don't feel like the tag teams feel as special as they did.
I agree, and having 3 sets of tag team belts in the division isn't helping either. In some ways, I'm fine with a secondary tag title, a little world tag team, U.S. tag team action. It was always kind of cool to have the Midnights and the Rock and Roll Express fighting each other for a secondary title.
Sure.
Here's the problem with this isn't the original triple threat that they were setting up. They were setting up the Bucks, Red Dragon, and the Jurassic Express, and then all of a sudden, the hell are these 2 other teams doing here? You're kind of like going, oh, all right, fine. This is mostly to help Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, in my opinion, and cover for them.
I think so too.
I enjoyed the last triple threat over-delivered, I thought.
It did. It absolutely did. I'll give you that much.
I just don't have a real interest in the Swerve Lee team, to be honest with you, yet, because I don't feel like, I feel like, yeah, they've put these 2 together and they've done some things on Rampage, but they don't feel like there's a real heat element to these feuds between the 3 teams. It's just, these were the 3 teams kind of half-assedly snarking at each other a little bit and getting wins here and there.
Well, I feel like there was actually something very interesting with
Swerve
and Lee and the Team Taz dudes.
Yeah, the Swerve thing is...
I really liked that. I thought it had a good energy. I thought it was fun. They stuck to the basics. I like
the team. I want this more heated, though. That's what I wanted it as,
And I just feel like the Jurassic Express thing is shoehorned in here. Suddenly making it...
I would agree.
I'm like, okay, that's a little strange.
I agree, and I think we've been kind of playing out this Christian story a little bit too long as a party to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just beating Jungle Boy a couple times when they really shouldn't have, to be honest with you, and just having him kind of sulk while everybody else builds the angle around him. I just didn't think that helped him all that much. I do think it's time to make a change in the tag titles, but I think it's also time to break up the Jurassic Express. Although I don't know what to do with Luchasaurus. I really don't, because he's perfectly fine here in his position as a tag team wrestler on a team, even a championship team. This is where he should be. He shouldn't be a singles guy. I also don't necessarily want to see Christian and Jungle Boy feud. That's a personal preference thing. I would much rather see Christian and Luchasaurus tag and then have Jungle Boy be a singles act and go somewhere and see what we have with that, and kind of rebrand him and, make him old cranky JR's Jungle Jack Perry and have him go on his way. I wouldn't mind him winning the FTR title on Wednesday or Friday, whenever
they're doing it, right? Yeah.
Whichever one of those shows he's doing. I think that'd make it. I think that'd make the tag triple threat interesting. I think the most interesting choice here is to have Team Taz win this because of something that Swerve screws up, to continue that is he or isn't he a heel, which I think a little too soon for that, but they're going with it. And I think he's going to turn heel eventually and join Team Taz. I'll be honest with you.
Which would be really interesting, because right now they're down a member with Hook, right?
Yes.
So there we go. So it's a bit of a toss-up here. I would like to see Team Taz win these titles.
I like the Starks-Hobbs team a lot. I think they have good interplay. I think they do well on the interviews together. And I think then you do the one-on-one feud with Swerve and Lee. And I think that'll be good.
AEW Women's World Title match. Champion Thunder Rosa taking on Serena Deeb. I'm going to straight out the gate. I think the match is going to be multiple times better than the entire build to this match. I think we're going to...
Were you throwing it to me on that? Okay.
Just as simple as that.
Yeah. Look, I said this on my show. The content of the Deeb promo was fantastic. The delivery stunk, and it made it bad. But this feud was very close to being hot. This feud was very close to being molten hot, to be honest with you. And I think we saw him on a pre-show match, as I recall, a few pay-per-views ago, and it almost stole the show. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and I love Serena Deeb. I think she's fantastic. I think she needs a mouthpiece, or she needs to join somebody somewhere.
Or you know what? You just let her beat people up, and you never put
That
a
too.
microphone, or you never put a microphone in front of her face.
Yeah,
again.
if they're gonna do the Dean Malenko thing with her, do the Dean Malenko thing with her. Don't have her talk. It's fine.
And AEW has the crowd. AEW's crowd is more of a work rate crowd, maybe than 1997 WCW, where she could come in, she could just tear stuff up and walk away without ever speaking.
Well, I was saying more triple. My favorite Dean Malenko is Triple Threat Dean Malenko in ECW with Benoit and Douglas, where Douglas can do most of the talking, Benoit can do something that resembled talking, and Dean just stood there and just stared at the camera, ice cold. It's probably too soon to take the title from Thunder Rosa.
I think so too.
Which is unfortunate, because I think Serena Deeb would make a great heel champion.
I think that this build would have benefited from playing to these women's strengths.
Yes.
Which is wrestling, essentially.
Well, no. I think it would have benefited from just doing pre-tapes on these interviews, because anytime they've done these pre-tapes, Serena Deeb's come off great. And even when you remember when Thunder Rosa was feuding with Britt, those pre-tapes were fantastic, I thought.
I agree.
So all they had to do was have them doing, pre-tapes into the camera, talking to each other and intersplicing those things. I mean, that would have been great here. I think this match is gonna be pretty damn good. I would love Deeb to win, but she's not going to.
No, I think Thunder Rosa retains and remains in AEW too. But it's going to be a great match. Before we get to the world title match, Jeff, Danhausen and Hook taking on Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling. You know what? I thought I was going to hate the Hook Danhausen combo. And I'm glad, and I was proven wrong. I think it's just oddball pairing enough with two very extreme personalities. Look, we're not reinventing the wheel here, right? This is Laurel and Hardy. This is the odd couple. Like, it's dare I say RK Bro.
It's Steve Blackman and Al Snow.
There you go. We're not reinventing anything here, but the clash of personalities really does work. I think it's an interesting combo. Mark Sterling, I think he's developing into a legitimate treasure for this company. I think he's becoming a sneaky cornerstone into keeping some stories together here. This obviously it's going to build eventually to Hook versus Tony Nese, but I think this is a nice distraction in the meantime for the pre-show.
I admittedly hated this for a while because I thought I'm a guy. I love my unrepentant stupidity in my wrestling. I do. You know that. That's one of the pillars of the Jeff Hawkins love is there has to be a little bit of unrepentant stupidity in wrestling.
There's got to be absurdity.
For the most part, and people will say, well, but what about the MacLeod Britt Baker thing when I say this? But I don't like my serious getting mixed with my funny all that much. I like keep it, but I thought the MacLeod Britt Baker match was exactly what it was supposed to be for sneaky heel versus awesome heel. It was her trying to use the heel connection to trick her into losing. Britt dominates the match. She gets one quick comeback and gets pinned. I thought that was perfect. I thought Hook, if you had kept the mystery about him and kept it going on the trajectory it has, even after the QT Marshall stuff, which was the first inkling that this was going to be a little bit more lighthearted than I wanted. But after destroying the lightheartedness, and if they had kept going, I think you could have had upper mid-card, lower top tier Hook here after a while. I do. It's obvious that wasn't their plan. They decided to cool him down a bit. They're going to build up Sammy and Darby and other guys that are in that mid-card glut a little bit. So we have to find something for Hook to do. So I have come to my grips with this oddball team. And look, yeah, as long as nobody's expecting Danhausen to wrestle a 4-star match, fine.
And hopefully no one isn't.
I loved the knee squash against him. I thought that was fine. Man, I put 6 stars on that thing real quick. I was like, yes, kill that fool. Now, I overall like him. I thought Danhausen was becoming a little overexposed in some ways, being week after week after week. Yeah, we're gonna get the odd couple. I think Hook continues his thing where he just kind of shoves Danhausen out of the way and leaves after big wins and stuff like that.
Sure.
Eventually, he'll do something funny to kind of break the tension. And eventually he's going to kill Danhausen, which will be good.
Which will be fine. He'll start throwing him around.
Hey, Dad will come out and go, hey, what are you doing? I thought you remember Team Taz here, blah, blah, blah. Hook kills Danhausen, comes a heel again and gets his heat back. I'm fine with this. It's a shame Tony Nese can't be more than Tony Nese at times in terms of personality. And in terms of even his matches, because for me, but the big thing about Tony Nese is there's Tony Nese goes fast and he goes great and it's smooth and it's impressive acrobatics and things like that, but he never takes that to the next level of violence or sense of urgency type of stuff with it. It's a clean. He's clean. Which is both a good and a bad thing in modern. He's a modern indie wrestler, and in modern indie wrestling, you're not expected to have, overarching arches and long stories. You go out there, you have the best acrobatic work rate match you can, and the crowd digs it. So I mean, Mark Sterling's getting killed, and that'll be fine too because I like Mark Sterling. I
like Mark Sterling too. So it'll be a fun distraction to kick things off. A crowd pleaser. In and about itself.
A veritable crowd pleaser in the pre-show, yes. What's the other pre-show?
That's all I picked up on the pre-show.
Is that House of Black match?
House of Black is apparently on the main card. The final match that we're going to talk about, AEW World Title match, the champion, Hangman Adam Page, taking on CM Punk. Jeff, how do you feel about the build to this one? Because I feel like it's very divisive or divisive, depending on the part of the world you come from.
It's very banal or banal, depending on the. No, I've actually enjoyed the build for this quite a lot, and it's
me too.
Weirdly, it's so weird what they've done with this build in some ways, because of the 1 week where Page is a little heelish, and the next week where Punk is a little heelish.
You know what bothered me in this scenario, Jeff? While you collect your thoughts, I'll tell you what bothered me.
I was just taking a pause, but go ahead.
Sure you were, old man Jeff. Listen, this is what bothered. I don't know why I'm becoming suddenly aggressive. I'm sorry.
I know.
I know. It just came out of left field. This is what I guess because this really bothered me is that one promo where Page was acting, as you said, heelish, where he was in the ring and he was getting a little pissed off at the audience, where he was like, you guys are going to return the merch that you've bought once I'm done with them, kind of thing.
Right.
Everyone starts going, oh, he's turning heel. And I'm like, where are the signs that he's turning heel? This bothered me to the utmost degree. This is where I realized that WWE has ingrained us with the idea that your babyface champions cannot be fierce. They cannot show passion. They cannot show that a fierceness to defend their title against a challenger, which happens to be a guy who came into the company after you helped set it up, and suddenly he's the top guy and he thinks he's starting to run the place while you're the champion. Like, I can get where Adam Page is coming from, and actually I'm like, I'm with you, Page. I get this. I'm actually with you, and I'm glad you're showing some grit, some anger as a world champion. I'm like, you're coming to get my title? You think this is going to be a cakewalk? You're in for a surprise, buddy. I'm ready for this.
Okay, you're wrong though, and here's why.
Wow.
I have no problem with him just going after Punk. If that was the grit and fierceness, sure. But the added layer of calling things masturbatory Bret Hart tribute matches is heelish.
Is it?
In every way, yes. It's being dismissive of things that the crowd likes. Because the crowd likes Bret Hart. And you're pissing on Bret Hart there. So I think, look, if he had said, hey, Punk, if he had just made it about Punk and Punk and Punk, then it's a fierce champion. Then it's like, look, you want me and maybe even being a little bit more defensive as champion in a way. I have no problem with that. And I think you're right. I think he hasn't shown enough fire in a lot of these feuds. And I think that's been the big Adam Page problem throughout this. problem was he was going after people that are his fans. And he was going after people that the fans love in Bret Hart. And that was the step a little bit too over the line for your analysis of this. And that's why I have no problem with people jumping on the thing where, well, maybe it was shades of a heel turn. So yeah, there's a difference there. There's, it was just, it was a little out of sorts, to be honest with you, even though I liked it overall. It was just, it's crapping on wrestling versus crapping on Punk. See what I'm saying? It's more like breaking that fourth wall. So say, yeah, you see those matches in the Owen tournament, and you see Punk's matches of late when he was with the former Goldust and also Dax Harwood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were lazy tribute matches in wrestling. That's a little too breaking.
I see what you mean.
Breaking the fourth wall there.
But that wouldn't be. Look, we had just look.
There's too much of that, anyways, in wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the Jericho. The Jericho promo last Wednesday. But okay, I'll give you that. Because I hadn't thought about that aspect. But I also feel like it's a way to go after his character. Where it's like, CM Punk, do you take this seriously enough, right?
Then they should have done that on screen. Then they should have said that sort of stuff. You are fantasy booking in your head right now.
Sure, of course, all the time.
You're trying to make it make sense, and that's the problem here. Is that's a great way to go if they had done that and they had sat down and thought about it to get it back. Or it's like, hey, are you coming in here to be the best you can, or are you coming in here to be Bret Hart? That's a different promo. It's a different promo that Paige gave.
All right. I still think people over-exaggerate when baby faces show some fierceness.
I agree. And the general point is you're correct. On this point, you're not.
Okay.
Or you might be. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just...
No, but what you're saying actually is making a lot of sense. Like, why not be swayed? There's a
way to script it like you wanted it. I thought
you're absolutely right.
Awesome.
You're absolutely right. No, the way you present it makes a lot of sense.
But on the other hand, Punk came out and went full heel in Long Island because he's a heel in Long Island.
He's a regional heel.
And there's a little bit of, I'm the old gunfighter who might need to cheat a little bit to get an advantage. Mm-hmm. So I could also see, I mean, I think that's the story they wanted to tell. I think the story they wanted to tell is one of these guys going to take a shortcut to beat the other.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. That could be a good one. Who takes the shortcut one then? Who do you think is going to win in this one here? We sort of laid it out earlier a little bit. We sort of hinted at it. I think Paige retains, personally.
I think in the match, at least, I think Punk toes the line. I think he tries to take advantage at one point after a certain number of minutes where he hasn't had a lot going for him, and Paige keeps kicking out. Look, I think Punk makes a more interesting champion. I do. I like Adam Page. I find him dull as dishwater on interviews, though, in terms of personality.
Interesting. Okay.
I think he appeals to the work rate type of people there. But that ain't my jam, man. I want somebody who can talk. And I think the problem was how they followed up his feuds. His feuds have never been that heated. What I really want is Wednesday. I don't want them to touch. I don't want them to even be in the same room together. I'd like a split screen promo type thing, perhaps, or even just separate promos building this thing up. And I want it to be hot fire.
Well, they're announcing a face-to-face. They probably.
I hope it doesn't come to blows. I hope they stay apart, and that'll be fine. I think the arena promo is going to be a problem, to be honest with you. But I mean, I think arena promos are overall ineffective in many, many ways. But we'll see there. I think we go back to what MJF said. I beat you in Chicago before. I beat you again. And one day, when you have a title or you have something that's precious to you, I'm going to take that away from you in Chicago too. And I think MJF goes against Punk in Chicago, and I think he wins.
I personally,
I can see your way very easy.
And here's the other layer I want to add on why I think Adam Page is gonna retain, and I think it has to do with Forbidden Door again, because I think for Forbidden Door there is no bigger match that you could book for that show than Kazuchika Okada versus CM Punk. There's no bigger match.
Hangman?
I don't even think it's I don't think it's that big.
Okay.
Okada.
I kind of agree with you on name value alone.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
I think
the point.
You're correct.
That's the point. Like draw value, name value. I don't think there's anything bigger that they could put on. And I think the titles, if your guys come in with titles, that's the fly in the ointment. That becomes the problem where Gedo and Tony Khan don't get along. They won't be able to find a resolution. And we're going to go 60-minute Broadway kind of thing, right? I feel, because there's a pay-per-view, there's Dominion coming up in New Japan. Okada's defending against a pretty red-hot Jay White right now. I would absolutely see Okada dropping the title to Jay White, his current nemesis, and Okada coming in titleless to Forbidden Door to take on a titleless CM Punk. And I think that's your main event regardless. That's the match that will push the pay-per-view buys, because we're not talking about ticket sales anymore. We're talking about pay-per-view buys. That's the one that's going to push pay-per-view buys over 200,000, bigger than All Out 2021. That's what I think they do.
I disagree, but I grant you that that's a good idea. But in terms of the card that you want here, to me, I mean, look, I think in terms of pay-per-view buys, you're probably correct. You're probably correct on that one. So let me say that. In terms of the card I would personally strategically book here, if they could get all three on the card, let's say there's 3 top dream matches on there that you have. I think it's Paige Ospreay. I think it's Danielson and Okada. I think it's Punk and Tanahashi.
Okay. I thought about Okada Danielson. I really did. And as a fan, I'd love to see it. But I think the name value of CM Punk trumps that.
I think you're correct on that. My thing is, I just don't think Punk can do an Okada match.
I think he can.
Okay.
I think because you know what? Because it's Kazuchika Okada, and he'll guide him through it. If there's anything.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that so people don't jump down my throat about it. I think Punk can do an Okada match. I don't think Punk can keep up with Okada.
Okay, that's an interesting take. Okay.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
I mean, it'll be fine, and Punk will grab his headlocks, and he'll do his elbow drop, and he'll get all his stuff in.
He'll do the Pepsi twist.
And Okada will be the guy doing a lot of the fast stuff.
Sure.
I think Danielson and Okada is a better match, and I think it'll be.
I think it's a better match.
And I think Danielson could keep up with Okada a lot more. I think Tanahashi and Punk each know they've kind of lost half a step. I think it'd be a better story too, because they are taking their time and they are 2 wily veterans. So, and I think Paige and Ospreay is just your off the charts, do a lot of shit match.
Paige and Ospreay would be at this stage would be fantastic. Will Ospreay is just absolutely killing it right now with everyone he's stepping in the ring with. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. But see, that's why I'm thinking Paige is retaining, and I still think MJF is the guy to take the belt off of Paige. I don't think it's Punk.
Here's the interesting thing. I don't know if they've ever fought each other, but Paige and MJF, there's no disrespect to MJF. But can MJF do the Adam Page match?
I think so.
He does a lot of the heat spots with the headlocks. I mean,
he did a Jungle Boy match 2 years ago.
That's true. I'm not saying MJF is a bad wrestler. I'm saying MJF's moveset is very 1988.
I think he can also surprise a lot of people because he did a Jungle Boy match 2 years ago at Revolution, which was one of my favorite matches of the year.
Fair. I'm asking the question. There's nothing behind that.
No, those are. I think he
We,
can.
okay, so we both agree that MJF is the next title contender, correct?
Yes. I
Okay.
think.
And that they find a way. They find a way to get there, even though Wardlow. Well, you say Wardlow doesn't win this match. I say Wardlow wins the match somehow. But they find a way to get MJF to be the next title contender.
Well, I said Wardlow is probably going to win the match because
okay.
You know, I could see them wanting to push it forward to sort of give MJF something to do heading into all out.
But we both overall agree that no matter who wins the match, Punk or Hangman, that MJF is the next guy, and that you're probably belting MJF there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And just before we wrap, just to be clear, I think Paige retains. You think Punk takes it off?
I think Punk wins it so that he doesn't have to beat Paige.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
So that MJF doesn't have to beat Paige.
One thing that's not on the card right now is the TNT title, Jeff, just before we wrap this up, which is a complete mess right now, in my opinion. I don't think there's, people like to throw around the Cody effect for all sorts of bad things happening in AEW, like, oh, it's the Cody effect because this and that. But honestly,
I hate the Cody haters. I think Cody was one of the best things about AEW.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm 100% on your side. 100%. I've argued multiple times on the podcast.
His wife, not so much. Him, fantastic. And even the ideas that sucked. And trust me, I'm not saying he was perfect. He had ideas that were bad. He had bad instincts at times. But I think overall there was logic to them. So that's why I always liked Cody.
And he put a bunch of guys over and so on and so forth. Like there's a lot of stuff. But the TNT title right now is, I feel, has lost its luster. I don't care about it anymore. It feels, how Cody would say, just because it's a secondary title doesn't mean it has to be a mid-card title. Right. Now it feels like a mid-card title to me.
I don't disagree. But I think there's a way to fix it.
Oh, okay.
Because I think the story they're going to tell is that on any given week, any wrestler can win the TNT title. I think they have to go hard on that. And I think the solution is a lower mid-card guy who you don't expect to win the match has to win the title. And right now, there's a couple guys, and here's the level I'm talking about. Takeshita winning it in a match, because they're kind of telling the story of he's fighting these top-tier guys who hold titles, but not quite getting there. I could see that happening. A Nick Comoroto winning one week, that level of guy. A guy where you go, oh my God. And then you can't immediately beat him, because otherwise then it is just a garbage mid-card title. But you use that as a way to crown a guy, as opposed to what I think they're going to do is just bring Miro back and have him win it.
Which I'd be okay with. Like, to me, there's a level. I honestly thought they were going to run with Scorpio Sky, babyface Scorpio Sky, and that he was going to. I was like, I had touted this. I was like, look, the best thing to do is have him do an open challenge, a la Cody, and do that shtick again. Wrestle the under guys, bring guys up from the indies for some one shots. Maybe sign a guy or two in the meantime. Just recreate that prestige. In regards, I've heard people say, the best way to rehabilitate this would be to slap it on Bryan Danielson. And sure,
No.
You put it on a world exactly like they did with Cody, a guy that you perceive as a top tier number one guy in the company who gets that title. The man makes the title in this case. Absolutely 100%. It's rehabilitated. Now the hot potatoing, the smashing of it on Rampage, all this bullshit, like. Thank you for not making me care about this title anymore, But
the man doesn't make the title. The booking makes the title.
Depends, man. It depends.
Look, I mean, to me, you give it to him, it's like Intercontinental Champion Bryan Danielson or U.S. Champion Bryan Danielson. That's what it becomes. I think the title brings Danielson down.
I disagree.
It's Shinsuke Nakamura holding the Intercontinental title.
No. Because look, unless if they had given it to Shinsuke Nakamura hot off of the Royal Rumble win and all of that stuff, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But they put it on the perennially cooled off uninteresting Shinsuke Nakamura, who defended it once in the 7 months that he had it, or something like that. Like,
here's my point: you give it to Danielson, and he loses it 3 weeks later.
No, but he doesn't have to lose it. That's the point.
But no, but what I'm saying is that's why I'm saying the man doesn't make the title. I'm saying this guy, whoever holds it. I mean, to build it, if you gotta build it back up like that, one of two things has to happen. It has to be somebody who you don't expect to win it wins it, and then it becomes interesting, and then it becomes a game of guy getting wins over a lot to build him up, or you give it to a guy who's upper top or lower top card, and he's just beating your mid card the entire time.
Sure.
Okay. Does that make the title better? I mean, it's one of those things where
but then the guy who does finish him off because he becomes a final boss type of thing.
Yes, and that's fine. It's just you have to figure out who's going to beat the final boss.
Well, there you go.
And I think and meanwhile, while you're doing that, you don't get Danielson going up against the dream match guys. I don't think you can't. I mean, if you have like Page versus Danielson for the TNT title, it feels a little. So you're getting Ricky Starks versus Danielson, which is a fun match. Don't get me wrong, but you don't think Starks has any chance of beating him
until he does.
Well, again, I mean, but then you get but what this thing needs is clean wins now, because we've already had the chicanery with the American Top Team stuff. We need a great match to crown a guy who's going to make a run.
Yes.
And who's going to make a long run. And that guy also has to be beat clean, in my opinion.
And
to then transfer that heat over to the next guy.
Your Takeshita idea, I can buy into that. I think that's really interesting, because I've been racking my brain asking myself after Wednesday's match with Paige, how much
let's throw DDT a bone here.
Yeah. Because let's just go with this guy, because he had a fantastic match.
Put him on Forbidden Door too. I mean, that'll be fine as well. I mean, Forbidden Door as well. How about that?
It would be a true Forbidden Door then.
Yes.
So that wraps it up. We went through everything possible and factual on the card. Pinpoint precision predictions that you're going to hopefully
hour and 40 minutes later, pinpoint predictions.
But I want to thank Jeff so much for taking time this weekend for joining me, man. I always enjoy talking wrestling with you, man, and we don't do it half enough as we should.
We have our own territories. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't work together. Nobody wants to go over, put the other guy over. That's the issue. I said no.
But before we go, put yourself over. Let everyone know where they can follow all your stuff.
Sure, you can follow my bad jokes. It's price for flight, the chat would say, at Crap Game 13, mostly just snarking about wrestling. I do a show called Shake Them Ropes, as I was introduced, on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Myself and Chris Novembrino, kind of just meandering anything we watched, including classic content, WWE, a lot of AEW as well, pay-per-view predictions, and all the news and happenings of the week. That can be found on all your favorite podcatchers by Shake Them Ropes. Or you can just, if you download everything on Voices of Wrestling, we got a lot of shows for every kind of niche fandom as well, including the Flagship and Music of the Mat, both of which are fantastic shows. I highly recommend. Wednesdays, I'm on a Patreon called Fight Game Media for $5 a month. In addition to the free shows on that feed, you can have my microscopic breakdown of every segment on Dynamite with Paul Ace Fontaine. It is creatively called The Dynamite Show.
Big brain
It's
stuff.
a lot of fun. We like to do it. And then occasionally you can see me popping in over at Fightful with our old friend, Sean Ross Sapp.
Well, there you go. Well, thanks so much, Jeff. And we also got, while we were doing all of this, we got a super chat from Exciting Stuff. And thank you very much. Very generous super chat. It says, OMG, how did I miss this? Going to rewatch. My Lord Taichi told me so. But thanks again, Jeff, and please do follow. I listen to Shake Them Ropes on the reg every week. Never miss it.
Thank you.
I'm not quite prepared to pay premium to listen to Jeff Hawkins yet, but I'm sure the Dynamite show's great.
I take a lot of my same opinions onto the free show, but still,
just don't tell anyone.
The Shake Them Ropes Patreon failed miserably, so don't.
Tell me about it. So there we go. So we're going to wrap it up on that note. Thank you, everyone, for joining us live today. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you like this, you know the drill. Drop a like on YouTube. Drop a review on your favorite podcast application and all that jazz. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And on top of that, enjoy Double or Nothing.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.